That's what we define.
Don't go there. I'm going to stay
Hello,
silent
welcome
until
to
he's right
USVN,
here.
the Unbalanced Sports Views Network. As Augie the Greek talks over me like an unprofessional hack, uh, we are
You're not that
here.
unprofessional.
We are here once again in the month of December for episode 14, looking at week 14, going over week 13. Thanks for joining us. The none of you that are joining us, I appreciate that that I'm talking to the two of you, and you know, maybe one day I'll get somebody to watch, but I never have time to fool with that. So for the time being, it's just
This
leaving.
is important, though.
It is. Hey,
It's
look.
for the record. It's for the
Hey,
record.
it's for the record. But more importantly, there is one thing that drives all humanity from the dawn of time until now, well, at least as far as we know.
Competition.
It is the desire.
Competition.
The desire for
win.
some form of
Win.
immortality, whatever that means. Immortality can last a generation or two generations or whatever, but we want to be remembered beyond our time on this earth. It is the existential crisis of humanity, knowing that we will die and hoping that there's something after. So we all quest after that something after. This, if no one ever watches, will be part of the Internet archive long after our death, assuming the
Someone
internet
will find it.
assuming the internet remains. So up until the moment that the whole system crashes, we will remain an imprint on an imprint on an imprint in the ether.
Hey, someone will stumble across it at some stage.
No one,
Yes.
no one will be able to say we were not here. We
Well,
were
this
here,
might
gentlemen.
also be happening in a couple other time and spaces.
Yeah, I mean,
Theoretically,
sure. In another
dimensions,
in another multiverse,
multiverse. Yes.
you know, we're wildly
And in another
successful.
multiverse, I just went 10-0 in my picks.
In another
Stop it.
multiverse, we're wildly successful by your standards. But in the good timeline, in the good multiverse, we live in an actual just, sane society. And
The
so
good
we're
one.
doing this. We're doing this for fun, and it doesn't matter. And everybody's having a good time, and we all have what we need. So,
All right. How many teams get a bye the first week of the playoffs? Is it 2 per conference?
No.
1. You're kidding me? So the Dolphins are going to get the bye if it ends right now. We'd have to
No.
play the first week.
Yes. If
Yes.
it ended right now, correct, but they're on our schedule still.
Yeah.
So we could actually take that over
When do we play them?
But
after
New
the
Year's Eve.
Niners.
New Year's
Yeah.
Eve.
Yep.
Oh man, what a hell of a run that's going to be.
It got
Yeah,
a little
and it's
easier
in
after
Baltimore, and
last night.
I'll be in Baltimore. I'm just thinking about but I
Yeah.
think I'm leaving the next day.
Yeah, you should. It'd be cold, but you should do it. I mean, our road got a little bit easier last night, unfortunately, but
Yeah.
I
Yeah,
hate
for sure.
to. We talked about this last week, not playing a team when they're at their best, right? And that's not ideal. And Trevor Lawrence, that they may call it a high ankle sprain, that he's day to day, but I watched that and he
That's not
needed
a day to
help.
day.
Yeah,
That's
no. I mean, high ankle sprain covers a lot of things, and
It does.
and basically means like, hey, there doesn't appear to be any hard, any bone damage. So high ankle sprain just means that
Right.
there's soft tissue damage in the ankle area. Bare minimum, he's out 2 weeks. Most likely, he's out 4 to 6.
Yes.
You know.
Selfishly, I don't want him to play us, but at the same time, I do want to be people at their best. So it's like,
So I'm with you. I like to play people at their best. However, we really struggle in Jacksonville, so I kind of will take it because we're on the road. If I'll be honest, I'd be more sad if they were coming to Baltimore. I'd be like, oh man, that stinks that that we're gonna get CJ Beathard. But in Jacksonville, where we just notoriously struggle,
Mark
I think
Brunell used to eat us up.
I think I might have told you guys this story before, but I went the year after the first Super Bowl. After the first Super Bowl, in 01. The following year, the Elvis Gerback year, I was living in Savannah, so we went down to Jacksonville for the Ravens game. Jacksonville, went down with a couple friends, and for the one and only time I painted my face. I did the whole thing. It was pretty bad. I went a little crazy about it. It was basic. I mean, the truth is, it was the first time I'd ever done like a road game, kind of like that. I guess I feel like I'd gone to other stadiums, gone to other games. I'd never seen the Ravens on the road. So,
Mhm.
they'd
What's
only
Elaine's
been
boyfriend? What's his name?
who?
That went to the hockey game with the face paint, on
Oh, Putty.
Elaine's boyfriend.
Yeah, Putty.
Putty. You
Yeah.
went all putty. You went all
Yeah,
putty for the game.
Patrick Warburton. Yeah. So yeah, I did the face paint. I did the whole thing. Carla was very graceful. She put a little eye black under each eye, and that was the extent of it. Good for her. She can show those pictures to this day, and I have tried to burn most of them. But that's okay. Anyway, went to the game, and just awesome. We actually, the guy I went down there with, we just scalped tickets, and he was like, hey, he's like, he went off. He's like, hey, I'm going to go talk to these guys. You guys, you guys look over there. I'm going to look over here. And then he comes back and he says, get me before you do anything. I was like, all right. So he comes back. He's like, hey, I got 4 seats in the touchdown club level, like the touchdown club for the game. It was like, wait, what? He's like, yeah, I got 4 seats for us in the touchdown club. And he hands our tickets, and they're all like $275 face value. I'm like, oh my God, that was 2002, So we were like, yeah, pretty
What did he pay for 'em?
ridiculous. I don't know.
Oh, okay.
But it was a surprise, his treat.
Oh, wow. Okay, cool.
Yeah. Oh yeah, no, it was just like, no, it's on me. It was
Sweet.
our good friend who he used to work. He was the chief engineer on Roger Penske's yacht, the Detroit Eagle. Which, by the way, if you go to DetroitEagle.com, it will not take you to the yacht, but it will take you to a gay like S&M bar in Detroit.
Like the Blue Oyster.
But if you Google Detroit Eagle ship or boat or yacht or whatever,
I really want to ask questions like, why do you know this? But
well, because he told me, he said he was telling me because they were waiting for the ship to be completed. I think they were completing it in Amsterdam and then shipping it over to Savannah to Palmer Johnson to be docked there. And he, like I said, he was the chief engineer, and he's like, he told me, he's like, oh, you could check it all out. You could check out the specs. You could check everything. He's like, you just look it up. It's a Detroit Eagle. He's like, wait a second. He's like, it's not DetroitEagle.com. That's a gay bar in Detroit. So I had to check it out to see if for real. And I'm like, oh, it's not just a gay bar. It's like a Leather Bears, strip bar, gay bar, which is pretty fun. Yeah. So also highly recommend, the Detroit Eagle if you're in the area, I guess. Good times to be had by all. Anyway, so yeah. Anyway, long story long, at that game, the Super Bowl, trying to defend the Super Bowl, we were losing that game 13-7 late in the fourth quarter when Elvis Gerbach hit Shannon Sharp for a go-ahead touchdown with 40 seconds to go, and we won the game by 1. That is the only time I've been to Jacksonville and we won. I have been multiple times. We have never won a game, except for that one game by 1 point. The point differential when I go to Jacksonville is bad. It's Jags a lot, Ravens very few. So
they always play us tough. Like I feel like they've, it's like always
they do.
That game will forever be linked with Mike Tirico for me though, because there's one game like it was not going our way. Joe was playing playing terrible. I think the final score ended up being 10-9. It was one of those games.
Sure.
And Mike Tirico kept referring to Maurice Jones-Drew as Ray Rice and vice versa.
Nice.
And it was pissing me off because we were playing terrible, so I'm already pissed off about the game.
Sure.
And I'm like, this is your only job. How do you not get these guys' names right? Like I'm here and I can name almost every guy on both teams' rosters, and I don't get paid to do this.
Right.
How can you not get it right? But yeah, it'll always be that rivalry will always be associated with him for me.
It really bothers me when the guys calling a game, when they do that, that's of course bad. But what really bothers me is when they mispronounce a guy's name, and I'm like, you've spent all week with the teams. Excuse me, all week. You've had press packages, you've had access to every single player, especially when they're like, especially when they do something like, we sat down with Lamar Jackson this week when we were and they talk about an interview and they've mispronounced the guy's name. It's like
that's usually
so
like
annoying.
The older lazy ones. They don't give a shit,
Yeah.
All right.
No.
So which games are we going to highlight this week? Where do we want to start?
Well, I would like to start. I want to start
Uh-huh.
by talking about the game of the week, the Falcons Jets, because I want to say R.I.P. Bozo to Tim Boyle, who gets 2 starts with the Jets. Just wanted to pull up his stat line. He played 3 games for the Jets. So this guy, I feel bad because like I'm dunking on a guy who whatever, he got to start 2 games in the NFL, but was so bad that he's gone from starter to like
Well,
bagging
yeah,
groceries over the course
flat
of
out cut.
a
Yep.
couple of days. The guy threw 1 touchdown, 4 picks, which on its face is not terrible. Averaged a whopping 120 yards per game with Garrett Wilson and Breece Hall, as 2 guys who could make it more than 120 yards a game.
It's a whole it's a hold my beer moment.
It
Zach
really is.
Wilson's terrible. Hold my beer.
But what
It's
seems to be even somehow more baffling to me is they got rid of Tim Boyle and they decided, but you know what? Trevor Siemian, he's fine. We'll hang on to him. This guy came in and fumbled 3 times in the short time he had the ball. Completed 5 of 13 passes, like for 66 yards. Again, with Breece Hall and Garrett Wilson and Alan Lazard. I mean, I know there are lots of problems on that team, but I'm sorry. 5 passes for 66 yards. When you've got those 3 weapons, astonishing. I mean, I guess it's not fair. He was sacked 3 times and he did fumble.
I was
But
going to say,
anyway,
what's their offensive line doing though? Because I mean, that's the thing I would be wondering about, more than anything. Because does he have? I mean, when you're a quarterback coming in off the bench, Trevor Siemian hadn't even played like in a couple of years, right? Like game speed is not at an all-time pride,
Sure.
to all-time high. They touched on it last night in the Jags game with Beathard. Yes, coming out of preseason, he would have had more reps, but coming in when he did, like who knew what was going to happen because he was rusty. And then
But
if he's under attack and under siege because they're getting blitzed all the time, I don't know if you have much more of an expectation. Maybe in
well,
week 2 you would,
I
not in
guess I
week 1.
think I guess I would say this. We saw last night. The reason I'm thinking about the Jets is because of watching Beathard last night. He comes in cold, has no intention of playing this game, hasn't played a game in, several years.
Yep.
Comes in and immediately they draw up a couple of safe plays, a couple of little short passes, little dinks, little dunks, get the ball, get rid of the ball quickly, so you don't have to worry about pressure, all that stuff. They set him up for success. And frankly, he looked all right. He didn't lose them that game. He didn't
Sure.
win. He didn't win them the game. But I mean, the way I see it, a backup quarterback is rarely asked to win the game. They are asked to not lose it. And the hope is that the rest of your pieces can fill in the gaps.
But you touched on one thing at the very beginning of your speech there. Not really, but they called a couple of safe plays for him. And I don't know that the Jets coach, like I think the Jets offensive line has been kind of a mess all season.
Mm-hmm.
And that's why there's always a lot of people out there going, should Rodgers even come back and play? Not just because of their record, but also because he's coming off a major injury. Like, why
He's not.
are you going to risk this? I think
not.
he's going to come back and be the backup. I think he's not going to play because why risk it until he's 100%. And then
Yep.
this season, why even bother? But if you're getting ambushed and then you add on top of the fact that has Nathaniel Hackett shown you anything as the offensive coordinator for the Jets?
No, he's terrible. He's absolutely terrible.
Not this. So you touched on that very important thing, and that is the Bengals did it too at the start of that game. They set up Browning by going, let's build your confidence, get some quick passes, get that success going. And it just kind of helped them get into a rhythm. And quite frankly, the funny thing is, this is what I complained about to you about Lamar for the last couple of years is that you run, and then you get to the final quarter and it's like, oh, what do you mean you can't just put into rhythm and actually throw the ball? So I think play calling and then the offensive line play puts him in a bad spot. That doesn't make him a good quarterback, but I'm just saying Trevor Siemian's been serviceable in the league. Serviceable. I'm not saying good, but like better than what we saw. So there have to be other variables.
Well, no, and I assume that's why they kept him and dumped Boyle. I feel bad that that on this team where the Jets say, I wanted to just say a little bit more. They signed Brett Ripien off of
Yeah, I saw that. The Rams practice squad.
was it the Rams? I thought it was the Seahawks. Doesn't
Maybe
matter.
it was. Actually, you might be right. Yeah.
Doesn't matter. It's a bold move to say, sorry, Tim Boyle, you're not good enough. But I do know a guy whose career line is 4 touchdowns, 9 picks. That's our guy.
Yeah. Did you
know,
guys see that Rodgers kind of went off a little bit on the
So
Jets organization today?
So this is why I wanted to bring this up,
The
just because I think
leaks.
this is less about the game and more about the, like the spill in the tea. I thought it was pretty crazy that, like,
I love it.
the Jets are like, we might have to ask Zach Wilson to start again because nothing could be this bad. And Wilson is like, I'm not really sure I want to start anymore.
I know.
Which
Well, and the thing is he's come out and disputed that's been true. That it's people are out there making that story up. I personally just like that stuff happens like this across the league all the time, where these stories leak, and we all know it's coming from the front office.
Sure.
And to finally have a player, it takes a player of Rodgers' stature.
Yeah,
Love him or hate him, he's a little weird, but love him or hate
I
him.
like the guy.
Only Rodgers is the kind right now, probably is the only guy who could probably come out and do that. Well, maybe Mahomes, but there
I
are
have
many.
to say, I've always liked Rodgers because he's always been a speak your mind kind of guy. Now he doesn't always say things that I want, that I he says things sometimes that I wish that he didn't. But
Right.
I mean, that's the, but I mean, it's like, he's not my moral compass or anything like that. So, I mean, it's like, yeah, speak your mind. I
Right.
worry about, I worry about when he has negative influence over people who are more weak-minded, that they're like, ooh, this football player said this thing, so I like him, so I'm going to do the thing he said. That worries me. But I
That
also
goes all
assume,
over sports though these days, especially in the NBA. I mean, there's a lot of that.
I mean,
Look at that idiot LeBron James. I mean, he's always saying dumb shit like that.
I love LeBron.
I was going to say,
I'll fight you on that
I was
one.
just going to say, see, I'm not going to say I love.
I respect him as a player. I do.
Generally, I like
you got to
LeBron,
respect
and I
him
think,
so much more.
I mean, I think LeBron generally is pretty good on a lot of issues. He's he's a thoughtful guy and doesn't generally speak immediately without thinking. I have been a little disappointed, not to get into this, but I've been a little bit disappointed in him just in the immediate aftermath of like the Israel-Palestine conflict, only because he immediately came out with like I stand with Israel and that's for whatever. But then people were like, I saw people like, were like tweeting at him saying like, hey man, did you forget? Did you forget? Like, you've told people how you read Malcolm X's autobiography and that like had a big impact on your life. Did you forget what he like says in there? Because this like unquestioned loyalty to a settler colonial project is like the exact opposite of what Malcolm talks about. And you know what I mean? So it's just like, and that he has not in any way revisited that or said anything about it. That has, I have to say, regardless of where he might come out on it, but to at least address something that seems like a hole in his ideological underpinning does frustrate me a little bit. But I also understand
any of that.
It's the same. I disagree. He's a smart guy. He's a thoughtful guy.
He's very like, he doesn't really get it on China. I think there's a lot of stuff he doesn't. I think he's very misled on a lot of issues. He didn't get it on.
I would say this too. Like, you know what? I would love to find any celebrity of any kind who does not have some sort of conflict in their worldview. I think that's what makes these topics so challenging, is that
celebrity.
both things can be true without being maybe completely true, right? Because yes, I'm sure if you sat down with him and knew him personally and then asked him about it, he'd probably have a response. Maybe you would or wouldn't be happy with it, but he would come back with, LeBron has done way too much in the community and way too much outside of basketball that, like, you can't not respect the dude.
Sure.
And I agree with that. I agree with that. And I think Brian just said something too that's perfect. Like, we all have these conflicts, and that's why they shouldn't use their celebrity and their position to make political statements, especially when they're being interviewed. They shouldn't.
Okay. Yeah, you shouldn't be allowed to make
because it puts them in a pinch.
In your life. I mean, that's silly.
Well,
that's silly.
Because it doesn't put me in a pinch. It puts them in a pinch. That's what I'm saying.
But that's their choice.
I wouldn't do it either. If I was a public figure, I wouldn't just go around announcing my my political opinion. That's why most don't, because they don't want
I don't think they do
to have
that
pushback. A
I
lot
think
of
they
the
get it. I
athletes
think
these days
they get a
are like,
microphone shoved in their face and go,
that's
"What do
true.
you think about this thing?" It's just like the Chick-fil-A thing.
That's
You shove a microphone in Stuart Cathy, his face, a Christian-run organization. Everybody knows that, and goes, "What do you think about gays?" And what do you expect him to say? Like, you know what I mean?
Yeah,
It's like,
Dan.
you're asking me what I think. That doesn't mean that's what my organization thinks, right? And those two things don't have to be the same. They don't have to be linked, and inseparable. And there are, trust me, I know plenty of people that work in that restaurant that are gay, and it's not a big deal, but it's just kind of the same thing though. When you shove a microphone in their face, if they don't comment on it, they get crucified for doing so. And regardless of what their answer is, they're going to get crucified by somebody.
sometimes
I just think it's impossible.
a media tactic.
I would say though that a willingness to exploit somebody that you think has a lifestyle you don't like or whatever is not
Define
the same
exploit.
as well, you pay somebody less than the amount of value that they create.
That's
So
not it. What are we talking about? Because we're not talking about Chick-fil-A.
I have no
person
idea.
creates more
Just fine.
value than they are paid for. That's exploited. I mean, that's definitionally exploitative. We can
Yes, but
nitpick
what does
about.
that have? Yeah, but what are we referring to specifically?
So Chick-fil-A, you're saying that like
They
you know,
didn't
gay
pay
people
gay
who work
people
there.
less. They didn't pay gay people less than the
I
person
didn't
next
say
to
they
them.
paid them less.
I have no idea
but I'm
what that thing is about.
but
I
I'm
never,
saying what I'm
never
saying is that it is
read about that.
the company exploits its workers. It is the nature of the business. It has to. That's what every fast food business does. Now, you choose to take the job or whatever else, and we can have those arguments all day long. None of that matters. The bottom line is that by definition, it is an exploitative labor practice, as virtually every salary, every wage job is an exploitative. It's an exploitative. Well, you can shake your head all you want.
It's just
what does that have to do with any of
so what I'm saying is a person can be willing to exploit people that they disagree with, but that doesn't mean that they think that they deserve to be treated equally. Like you could say, well, I don't believe in gay marriage because I don't believe that they're equally people deserving of the same equal rights, but I'm certainly willing to employ them, to work for me so that I can get rich off their backs, off the sweat of their labor. Like that is not the same thing. It's,
No, I think it's exactly the thing you've complained about, and that is it's okay for your personal view to be one thing, but it's not okay for you to determine what's right for me. That's what that is in a nutshell.
Well, okay,
It's,
sure. But
I don't
you were
agree
saying,
with
well,
this, but I'm
sorry,
opening
you were
the
making
door
a
to you.
connection to the company, and I'm saying, well, I don't know, because again, when you're talking about like, oh, I'm
Yeah,
willing
you
to.
liked it. All big companies are evil. We know. We've got all that, like in history of all time ever created.
Yeah.
No, not
Like there
not
is
all
no
time,
one
but
who
yeah,
could
no.
ever be doing anything benevolent.
That's not that's the
Yeah, I'll
history
never
of
agree
big companies
with
is not
anything
that
you're
long.
saying here. So let's get back to the games. Let's
Okay.
get back to the games because
So
you're not making any sense.
I'm making perfect sense.
You're not.
Okay.
We spent way too much time on the Jets and Falcons too, because that game was
Yeah,
terrible.
let's not talk about that crap anymore.
No, that was all I wanted. I just wanted to talk about.
And we're not talking about the Patriots, Chargers. We're not touching that one.
No, for sure.
And we though? Oh
No.
I'm kidding. I'm kidding.
No, and there's probably a couple others.
No,
all I have to say
there's
about that
nothing
game
worth
is
talking about.
all I have to say about that game is that Brandon Staley needs to be fired. Like that guy needs to go.
I will say one thing of positivity, and that is that Patriot defense. Interesting fact. They've held their last three opponents to 10 points or less. They are doing something right on the defensive side of the ball. Offense, one of the worst things I've seen in a long time. But at least on defense, they're playing pretty solid D. Because that Charger offense isn't the problem. It's never been the problem with that team. It's always been the defense, right? So
they look pretty bad.
That's
the
only
Chargers
thing
offense looked pretty bad as well. Herbert looked bad.
Is it because of that or the defense? I don't know.
Maybe. I mean, when you can't hit swing passes to Eckler, something's not right. I don't think the defense has much say in.
Must be the middle finger on the non-throwing hand.
Yeah, maybe. Something wasn't right. I think maybe they're trying to sabotage Staley. Like we got to get rid of this guy. We're out of it this year. Let's get rid of this guy. Let's just ball out. Let's score 6 points. We can't possibly win scoring
Yeah.
6. All right.
Yeah.
Let's talk about the Seahawks Cowboys, which I thought, a rare Thursday night, like, awesome game.
Yes.
Yeah, no doubt. They
I
usually
really,
suck.
Dak is playing lights out. CeeDee Lamb is playing lights out.
Lights out.
Credit all over the place for those guys. Ferguson had just
Geno
a
impressed me
tremendous
too.
game. But yeah, see, we were talking about the Seahawks
Yeah.
last week, and we had a lot of questions about Geno. And if you guys recall, and I'd said,
Looked
no,
good.
I think
He looked
Geno's
good.
okay. I think they're still trying to figure things out and whatever. Geno looked
think-
great.
I was going to say, I think Walker being hurt
I think
helped
so, too.
because they had to rely more on, because I heard him talking about it in the game itself and just talking about how last year they made sure and kept Metcalf and Lockett, more involved. And this year they've kind of abandoned that a little bit. They've been too reliant on the running game. And I think we're getting back to that rhythm conversation, right? A little bit. And
Yeah.
But yeah,
Metcalf,
they look great.
He had a game.
The Seahawks look great too.
He showed up. Metcalf showed up. That's for sure.
Yeah, Metcalf owns the Cowboys. That is
unbelievable.
It's one of those things. It's one of those things like the Brian Daboll owns Washington, like the Giants just. I mean, I thought it was Daniel Jones, but it is not. It's just the Giants know how to destroy the Commanders, and ever since Daboll got there, the Commanders they make them look silly every time. Even with this horrible Giants team, they made them look silly when they played there, 2 weeks ago. I think Metcalf owns the Cowboys. But I want to point out, though, Smith and Jigba really looked good. I mean, I thought, he's really come along nicely. And he's a little sneaky because he's the third option there in that offense. And, really, really looked good. And I forgot Noah Fant was on that team. I mean, that's a guy who, really had high hopes for a few years ago. And
he's never done it, though. Never.
I know.
Not here in Denver. He didn't do it there. I mean, he's always a guy, he has a game that you're like, whoa, there he is. This guy's got a lot of potential. And then he disappears. He's Gabe Davis in the tight end position.
Yeah. I mean, it's an interesting thing because he's got good hands. He runs decent routes, but game plan has to fall his way, obviously.
Right.
Anyway. I mean, I don't know what else to say about the Cowboys. Tony Pollard looks like a complete mistake.
Well, I was going to say that's the one thing I would say about the Cowboys is, looking at their record, they're 9-3. That's great.
I was just going to say that.
When they run into the playoffs, like when they hit the playoffs and they actually have to be able to run the ball, can they? And that's the thing I just don't like. Right now, they're able to, just obliterate people through the air.
Yeah.
But you start running into better defenses like the Niners. We saw what happened to them against the Niners.
Yeah.
The Eagles, I mean, we're about to see round 2 of that this weekend, but it's like they run into the better teams. Seattle's not one of those teams right now.
No,
who they're going to end up. This is what's going to happen. All right, I'm going to call it right now. Okay, if this turns out to be true, I'm going to throw myself a parade. But I have a feeling that the Cowboys, first round of the playoffs, are going to end up playing the Vikings in the wild card game, in a wild card weekend game.
It's not going to happen. Because neither of those teams are going to win their division.
Yeah, I was just going to say, because the Vikings aren't going to win their division.
No, I'm saying they're not. They're going to get in as a wild card.
Which means they'll play a division winner.
Which means they'll have to play a division winner, exactly.
Yeah.
They're probably going to end up playing whoever wins the NFC South. So it'll be probably Atlanta.
Oh, that's shit. That's a dumpster fire.
Yeah.
Damn it.
Yeah.
Well,
it'll be
because
Dak
the
Prescott,
Cowboys are going to be a wild card too, right? I mean, the Cowboys are going to be a wild card.
Probably.
They're both going to be wild cards.
Yeah, probably.
Right. So why can't they have? They have to play division winners. That's right.
Yeah.
They can't. In all likelihood, if the Vikings make it, the Vikings and Cowboys can't play each other until the NFC Championship game.
Don't say if, and if that happens, the Vikings are going Super Bowl, baby.
If the Vikings hit the playoffs, they're going to play whoever doesn't take first. They're going to take either the Niners or the Eagles in that first round.
Bless you.
Thank you.
Because that's about the only way they make it in is by sneaking into that last spot at this point.
Yeah. But yeah, I think that you're right. I think the Cowboys are. I mean, I've said all along. I think Mike McCarthy's play calling will eventually be their downfall when it matters.
Lack of running game too.
Well, that's part of it. I mean, that's his doing as well. I mean, I have to say in the preseason when they let Zeke go, I thought, well, he's 30. He hasn't looked great for a couple of years. That makes a lot of sense. Pollard looks great. But I did have some questions about Pollard as a between the tackles every down back. And I wasn't sure they were going to use him that way because they never really used him that way before. And McCarthy just insists on making him Zeke Elliott. And he is not that. And you can tell it's a real problem. And this is what I mean about McCarthy not being creative. Huh?
Patriots too.
Yeah.
So he's just running the playbook. That's why. I mean, he doesn't have any kind of.
Yeah, McCarthy
hasn't changed anything.
Yeah, he's not creative. He's not creative.
He's running the same freaking plays with the new player, and
which is why the Cowboys can blow out teams that have. I mean, they are one of the most talented teams in football, so they are going to blow people out when they're facing, lesser competition.
They're front runners. They're front runners.
But McCarthy is not a creative play caller. He doesn't really. I don't feel like he knows how to utilize his pieces in any way that goes beyond the standard conventions. And so, again, a guy like Pollard who's so good in space, he's not giving him the ball in space. He's having him run up the middle. 10 of his carries will be up the middle, and you go, well, okay, each one of them went
30
for
yards.
Yeah, and then he might break one or whatever. I mean, I think didn't he have like a 60-yard touchdown or something a couple weeks ago? I mean, something crazy, a big long touchdown a couple weeks ago. So again, obviously he's going to break one here and there, but it's like that's not. It would be like taking Eckler and just running him up the middle all day, just foolish. Or Kamara, you just sure they can go between the tackles in the name of keeping a defense honest, but that is not their game.
Little Mitchell, that boy, little Mitchell.
Yeah, I mean, but that's not
little baby Mitchell.
That's not their game. You know what I mean? Like it's a waste of talent to run them up the middle all day. Like get those guys out in space.
They really should have been the ones to go after a guy like Fournette when he was a free agent. Like some guy that can be the kind of thunder to the lightning, right? The counterpunch that's missing.
Yep. It's amazing to me that all these years later, everybody's still trying to find
receiving back.
Well, it's amazing to me that everybody's still trying to find Ron Dane and Tiki Barber. After all these years, everybody's still looking for Warwick Dunn and Mike Allstott. They're trying to find that sweet spot. Anyway, all right. So yeah, Cowboys, Seahawks. I mean, again, I was impressed with the Seahawks. I am, I still think that this is a pretty good team. They've got them.
They could go far in the playoffs.
Their schedule coming up. I mean, they got the 49ers this week, and then they got the Eagles the following week. So their path to the playoffs is tough. But their last 3 games, they've got the Titans, Steelers, and Cardinals. So they have what should be 3 wins to round out the season. I mean, it's possible that they might be able to go into San Francisco and beat the Niners, coming off of a high. It seems unlikely, but it's possible. Possible the Niners look past. It's a look past game, but yeah. What are the Seahawks sitting at right now?
They are in 3rd place in their division. The Rams are tied for 2nd, but technically 3rd.
6-6, and they probably are 6-8 after the next 2, but they finished 9-8.
So
9-8 in the NFC feels good enough to get in. I mean,
they're on a 3-game losing
I'm not saying
streak.
it's a
The
guarantee,
Rams are on a 3-game winning streak.
9-8 feels good. Like you can get in. You could get into that 7th slot in the NFC. I mean, just given the mess once you get out of the top tier, and the NFC just devolves into a hot mess.
Yeah, I was just thinking. I mean, I could see them making it there because the NFC East, right? You got the Cowboys and Eagles. Nobody else is going to make a run there.
Right.
The South is awful. Like the West really is.
Packers.
It's the Vikings and the Packers they're right there with Seattle fighting for that same spot. So they're all kind of the same team in a way.
I agree, but I think it's going to be. I mean, I think the Packers are the team that's going to make it. As I'm looking at things, the Packers. It's going to be the Packers, the Cowboys, and then that 3rd team will be. I mean, that last team is the question mark. Could be the Seahawks, could be the Vikes. I'm not really sure who else it could be. Maybe the Rams, I guess, possibly. But
you're pretty certain about that team.
Well, so
I mean, they did just beat the Chiefs. You're right. That was a big win for them. So
But also, look at the Packers' upcoming schedule.
Yeah, no, I'm looking at it now. No, you're not wrong.
I mean, tell me where they're getting blown out.
Nobody's blowing them out. I could see Tampa giving them a fight, Minnesota giving them a fight, and probably Chicago. Those giving a fight, but they should be able to win at least one, if not two of those games.
They're 6-6, and their next 5 games are Giants, Bucks, Panthers, Vikings, Bears. I mean, I will say
we'll give them 2 wins, guaranteed.
Yeah, 2 guaranteed, probably 3.
Yeah,
I mean, the Bucks are a bit of a
right.
I mean, the Bucks because it's in Green Bay, and the Bucks notoriously play terrible in Green Bay in the winter. So, I mean, granted, that goes all the way back to Warren Sapp, but it's never changed. So, you know what I mean? Like it's never gotten better.
For sure.
Yeah, the Vikings and Bears certainly both are complicated games.
Just division games. They're tough games.
I think it's crazy they have to finish not with one division game, but back-to-back division games. That's unusual.
I know.
That's a that's a bit of an unfair draw. But yeah, I mean, bottom line, this is a team that's going to be 9-8, if not 10-7. In all likelihood. I mean, that's a playoff team.
Yeah, and we're done with the Cowboys. We can jump into that game if you guys want. And because, I kind of want to touch on, like, Jordan Love's getting a lot of praise. I was going to say Jordan Love's getting a lot of love, and that just didn't sound right. So praise, but
I appreciate you not doing what every other hack broadcast.
I'm like, no, I'm not doing it. I refuse to. But I do think, like, yes, definitely he played a lot better game, but he's going to get credit for that garbage ass throw to Romeo Doubs that he just threw it off his back foot, and it's like
catch.
It was an incredible catch. Yeah. It was a terrible decision, candidly. Like there were too many people in that area for him to throw that up there. It's just like, and then the biggest thing, my biggest takeaway on that game was the officiating was abysmal. Abysmal.
Yeah, horrendous.
The roughing the passer on the quarterback on that final drive was awful, and then the not call on the pass interference equally bad. Like. Both absolutely horrible.
I saw that no call on the pass interference. I honestly saw that as a makeup call. I mean, that was the only thing I could figure was that was a makeup.
Right. I was shocked. Well,
I figured it was a makeup because the pass interference. I mean, the personal foul on roughing the it wasn't roughing the passer, it was a personal foul. Because he was
right. You're right, but yes,
I mean that was.
It was on the quarterback. That's why I meant that. Yeah.
I mean, my man is making contact inbounds. What do you want?
Absolutely.
What do you want?
And that's why certain penalties should be reviewable. And that, I don't want to review everything, but let those guys make the decision up in the booth, right? Yep. Like they've been doing and go, hey, no, you need to look at that one. Like, let them do the looking. We don't have to slow the game down unless it's about getting it right.
Right. And so I look at that. Sorry. So I look at that no call in the DPI as a look.
Yeah.
That pass at that part of the field and everything else doesn't happen without the 15 tacked on top of the 10-yard run. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like that puts them in position to be a DPI at like the 2. And so making that a no call as a makeup kind of makes sense. You're like, all right, it's a do-over for Mahomes. You know what I mean? It's a no harm, no foul kind of a penalty in the sense of like, okay, this play couldn't have happened if it weren't for that mistake. And so you go, okay, so now we undo that. They're going to have to change their strategy a little bit, blah, 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 whatever. I mean, whether it's right or wrong, I mean, that's, and at that part of the game is the part that makes it really tragic that had to happen. But I saw it as makeup.
I'm just shocked that
that's fine. Go ahead, Mike.
I couldn't believe it went against the Chiefs. That's what I was so shocked about. It was like,
I was thinking the exact same thing.
I feel like they have like a Chiefs emblem on their shirts most of the games that I watched, and I was just like, wow, a no call, but against them, it's like, wow, that's
Mahomes is the new Brady.
That's wild.
And honestly, I mean, and I know on a Hail Mary, you never get that call on a Hail Mary. But I mean, that was another one in the end zone with Kelsey.
But man, they're fucking battling.
I have seen that.
every single one of those things. Like that happens in some way, shape, or form.
Well,
Yeah,
let me ask you guys this.
but
Every
usually,
time they line up for that Hail Mary,
Mhm.
the announcers go, well, they're looking for either a flag or a touchdown. But have you guys ever seen a flag on a Hail Mary?
No,
Like ever?
absolutely.
never.
No, absolutely you have.
I've
I've seen the
never-
Ravens.
I've never seen it.
I've seen the Ravens get a flag on a Hail Mary.
Are you
like-
kidding? I've
Not
Yeah,
never
no,
seen
not
it.
at the end of the
it's
game.
it's usually because it's got to be. I've seen the Ravens flagged on a Hail Mary against the Steelers. It usually has to be pretty egregious.
Uh-huh.
Usually. I remember the Ravens got flagged on a DPI on a Hail Mary against Roethlisberger and the Steelers on one that was like, I'm sorry, what did you see? Because I just see two guys going for the ball. I mean, yeah, he didn't get his head around, but like he saw the ball and then went up to block the, and they called it fine, whatever. And then I remember because I only remember because then on the very next play, the Steelers punched it in and won the game. So, devastating. So yeah, I've seen it, but it's extremely unlikely. And it's one of those you go, well, the ref clearly has money on the on the line in this game. Like they've got to cover the spread here.
Yes,
But yeah,
and it's usually in favor of the Chiefs.
I mean, but that one though did seem pretty egregious. I mean, the way when pushing Kelsey, from behind like that was, I mean, again, I don't
care.
know that you're. I
It's
don't know
a
if you're
Hail
ever going to
Mary at
get
the
that.
end of the football game. That's
Yeah.
it, and I don't remember ever seeing that called. I know you pointed at one, but I would say it's 1 out of 200 that you might see
Yeah.
that.
Sure,
It's
sure,
not
sure,
more
sure.
than that.
And we've privately we have all said, uh, if you haven't played well enough to win the game before that point, then you
Yes.
haven't played well enough to win. I mean, if you're relying on a DPI in the end zone with time expired in order to get a chance to win, then you didn't play well enough to win.
Yep.
But yeah, I mean, I think they said I mean, that was a surprise, but the Packers certainly are looking good. Sure,
Mhm.
Jordan Love is still a developing guy. They're
Big
young.
fan.
They're so young.
Yep.
Christian
very
Watson.
young.
Watson is a real weapon on that team. I mean, really impressive when he's healthy. I hope he is healthy.
Hamstring. Yeah. I
But it
don't
was
know
just
if
a
he's
pull.
out or
I think it
not.
was just a pull, wasn't it?
Yeah, I don't
think
know how bad it is.
I don't
I
think
don't
he
know if
tore
it's like
anything.
extended or if it's just like a couple of week thing for them.
Yeah, I mean,
They got some sneaky young receivers though. Like not just even Watson. Like Dobbs might be the best receiver on that team. Reed's had some really cool, like really big games too. And I forget the kid's name, but there was one kid who really kind of showed up in that game too. That was another young one.
okay.
So they're very young on offense, except for at running back, obviously. But
I was trying to pull up an update here on Watson, but every link I click on is for some reason not loading up. So I can't seem to find out what his
I
deal
think I
is.
kind of wonder if Jordan Love is it like yes, I don't want to take all credit away from him, but does he fit the system better than Rodgers did? Rodgers being an incredible talent, right? No question about that. But when you talk about the system, and I don't want to jump to this game yet, but we will in a minute because my hot take to you boys that I just want to think about for a minute is Browning better for the Bengals than Joe Burrow?
No. I mean, no.
Not asking who the better player is, though.
No.
Either.
No. I mean, no question. No. Browning didn't do anything different than what Burrow does. But a healthy Joe Burrow is obviously the better answer because
That's the best they've looked all year.
But
They just
Burrow
have a
has
great
not been
backup.
healthy. He hasn't been fully healthy all year. I mean, he was dealing with a leg injury
Sure.
at the beginning of the season. He's never been he hasn't been healthy. So I mean, so no, I do think Browning is going to get himself a job. But
He definitely won himself a job. That's for sure.
but one week does not, a lucrative contract, make. You guys remember? Was it? I want to say Mike Flynn, but that's the psychotic former general. The Flynn, the backup for Tom Brady that played, I don't know, 5 games or something, played amazing and then got a job. Matt Leinart did it.
Yeah.
No, was it Leinart who backed up Brady and had a great season?
No.
No,
No.
Matt Barkley. Barkley did it and backed up Brady and then had a great half a season and then, got a nice job and then was terrible. I feel like that guy's name was Flynn. He went to the Packers at one point. Same thing.
I think you're right. I think you're right, actually.
Played, I think he might have been with the Seahawks for a minute and then went to the Packers. Played great for half a season for the Patriots in a system, and then just was not a good quarterback in the NFL. And so, I mean, we saw this week with Josh Dobbs, like he's been by far the most fun story in the NFL this year, the Josh Dobbs story. But then he comes out for the Vikings and just like does not look like a good passer, does not look like a good quarterback. Throws four picks, most of which were bad picks, and like, I mean, anybody can have a bad game. I mean, again, I know I always reference the Ravens, but like we've seen Flacco come out and just look absolutely devastatingly bad. And Flacco, we all know Flacco's an above average quarterback. What was an above average quarterback throughout his career. But would occasionally come out and just like, you could just tell the timing was off. You always knew you were in trouble when he came out and he underthrew a couple of deep routes. You're like, Joe, that's the one thing you do better than anything is throw a 50-yard pass. And like, you're throwing it 42 yards. Like we're doomed. Like it's going to be a long day because, you threw the pick 3 yards shy of the receiver, in the opening drive. Point is, I'm not ready to like, anoint Browning the best quarterback, blah, blah, blah. Burrow.
No, I just thought it was an interesting question because I'm not talking beginning of the game because it was slower, right? But once he got going, Joe Mixon ran better. The team played better with him. I'm not talking about who put up better stats, but the team looked better offensively as a team. And yes, Burrow is a much more elite quarterback. That's not the question I was asking. It just all the weapons came out a little bit more. It felt like even Tyler Boyd with his stupid backwards interception, like that was, and that's on play calling more than it is on him. But like everybody just seemed more engaged in a different way, and that's why I asked the question.
Yeah, I mean, I get what you're saying. But I mean, first off, I think it's obviously way premature in one weekend, but I think Browning looks like a guy that should get a look somewhere, and nothing more than that.
Sure,
I thought he played well, and I'm happy for him. I mean, he certainly looked confident. He certainly looked in control, and that is half the game. He really, seemed like he could pretty much make all the throws. I mean, he, good for him. But no, I don't think there's any quarterback controversy. That's for sure. And I mean, I know there isn't one, but I mean, I don't think there's.
I'm not realistically asking that question. Obviously, like you never not make Burrow that guy. Like he's too dynamic. It's when we talked about the 49ers a couple of weeks ago, and no, they were already a really great team, and when you added McCaffrey, it made them dynamic.
Sure.
Right. That's what Burrow does to that offense. It makes it more dynamic.
Is it snowing,
you guys
Mike?
didn't believe in Browning?
Is it snowing? Mike?
No, I'm not doing any cocaine.
I just saw a window. It looked like snow falling in the window.
No. You guys don't believe in Browning?
No, I think.
No, I do.
Yeah.
Did you guys both pick Cincinnati this week? You mean you didn't pick Cincinnati this week?
Did not pick Cincinnati this week.
Go ahead.
I thought that was a no-brainer.
Yeah.
You did not expect them to win. You expected them to cover.
Yeah, nice. I was gonna say, I think do we have I don't have the week-to-week picks. I don't know how everybody did. I was gonna say I don't know. Who picked Seattle this week other than me? Did you pick Seattle?
I gotta check. I don't remember if I got that one right. I got most of the 4 o'clocks wrong. Most of the 1 o'clocks right.
Yeah.
Is that what we're doing now? Is we're bragging about like the picks that we got right that no one else did?
Apparently.
Well, he started texting me about the San Francisco picks the other night, and I was like, "All right, well,
I don't know what you're talking about."
So
Yes,
you
you
two
do.
both tied at 7, and I had a stellar week of 5.
Yeah, you're
Oh,
yeah,
we all
I
had a
felt bad
tough
being
week.
in the lead so far, and I wanted to, even things back up.
yeah. I'm slowly but surely creeping closer and closer to catching you guys overall, as I've strung together an almost
Are we?
unbroken
What's the
streak of
score? What's
7s
the
and
overall
8s.
score?
We're 3 points apart from top to bottom.
Yeah,
So,
98,
What's the
96,
overall?
95. 98, 96, 95. And we're all
yeah,
above 500.
Ooh.
that's the
So
We're all
important thing.
making money. That's the
We're-
important thing.
you
We're all
know,
making money.
yeah, I mean, I had the farthest to come because my first week I was horrendous, and then since then I've pretty much been 7 or 8 correct every week. But I think I started the season like 4 games back. Anyway,
Hey,
I know.
Mike, if you're going to brush your teeth, you want to go on mute?
And I'm
I
not your
forgot.
I'm not your
Jeez.
dentist, but that didn't sound like 2 minutes.
He is a professional, clearly.
I know. I'm looking up the skirt of a lamp here. Jeez whiz. It's like a Japanese bathroom video, but for lamps.
You just made me spit my water all over my sink.
I mean,
Isn't that where you put it normally anyway?
No, I mean all over.
He's got a system.
The mirror, and everything.
He's got a much more complicated system. There, he doesn't spit that down the sink. That's his essence. He doesn't lose that. He preserves it.
He doesn't spit, he swallows.
We got the comedians over here.
Yeah.
All right, let me find a towel.
Such an easy target.
I mean, sometimes it's just too easy.
Let's jump into the Niners game.
With what?
We touched on it. Let's do the Niners Eagles.
Okay. Yeah.
Niners,
I don't think it's a long discussion.
No,
Personally,
it's not. I think
Nope.
it's exactly what you and I said.
Yeah.
That the
Niners
Niners
came to
came in
play.
there playing the NFC Championship game from last season,
Yeah.
and the Eagles came in going, let's not get hurt today.
And then they did.
I mean, they, the Eagles never really looked good.
No.
They never got their running game going, which is the
Nope.
kind of the engine that drives that whole offense. The defense looked terrible. That is the only thing that I would say is a little concerning for the Eagles is that, I mean, not that their defense has looked great this year,
Right.
but it looked terrible. Now,
I felt like the 49ers were getting every third down. I don't even
Yeah.
know what the conversion was, but
Well,
it just seemed that way.
I don't know
Yeah.
if you guys remember. Sorry, but I was looking up a little bit because I remember the Eagles defense last year being so good. And so I was looking it up and I'm like, you know what? That defense wasn't per se that good. It was a high scoring defense. They scored a ton. And that was, that at least I contributed, I think, to the way that I'm remembering that defense. They gave up a lot of yards. They gave up a fair amount of points, but they scored a bunch. So they were, they were taking the ball away and putting points on the board with it, which is not what's happening this year. They're playing basically the same kind of defense, but they're not turning, turnovers into points quite so directly anyway. And so I think that's why the defense is kind of looking pretty mediocre.
It
By
could
comparison.
be. I mean, I go back to the only thing I do go is back to the beginning of the season when we all went, I don't know who's going to stop the 49ers.
Yeah.
And they're getting healthy again. And that's the big difference.
They look
right?
good.
And
they look good.
At the beginning of the season, when I said, these are how I see this game going, I didn't see that score going, but I did see the Niners handling the Eagles.
Yeah.
And I don't see it happening any different in the playoffs unless, because you've touched on this a bit, and Jalen Hurts has definitely got something going on. He doesn't look like the same guy. He's still a great quarterback, and he is playing good. We just feel like we've seen him play a little bit better. That's really it.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't know. I just don't. It doesn't feel like this year is that year for them.
Yeah. No, I mean,
look at the just the points given up. If you look at the points given up by the 49ers,
yeah, they're right there with the Ravens.
There's only one other team I think better, and that's the Ravens, and they're like a couple points different. But they're blowing out. They're 100 points separated from other teams. Most of them. Look at the AFC.
Yeah.
Yeah, they're. I mean, again,
Crazy.
comparing NFC and AFC is always a little bit tricky, just because the conferences are not equal. But yeah, I mean, the biggest difference is what the 49ers have outscored the Ravens by what? Sorry, where are they? Yeah, by like 30 points, and then basically they've given up the same.
Yep.
You know, it's it's the same points against. I mean, the Ravens 2 fewer, but that's a push. But yeah, the Niners are scoring more points. But we also know, having watched John Harbaugh for a long time, Harbaugh is not a hang a half 100 by halftime kind of guy. I mean,
No.
he's never going to be that coach. He is. I mean, it's a weird thing that I can't really explain to anybody who isn't like an AFC North football fan, because we're the only teams that do this. Like, how many times I've watched a game and it's like the score is 10-7, but I'm like, we've got this game completely under control. You know what I mean? It's a 3-point game. And
Yeah,
you're
it's
like,
frustrating.
yeah, it could.
Yep.
Yeah, we are one mistake away from this thing getting out of hand, but it's clearly, but like they're clearly in charge of what's going on here. It would be nice for them to have a little more urgency about putting more points on the board, but even it's like they're coming up short. It's it's a bad penalty. Oh, it's a one something whatever goes. Oh, there's a drop, and now they're punting. But you're like, yeah, but it's fine because you know what I mean. Like the defense has them figured out or whatever. It is a weird thing. The Kyle Shanahan is not that kind of guy. Kyle Shanahan is a hang a half 100 by halftime kind of guy. You guys know that expression, right? That was Barry Switzer's Oklahoma motto. Back when Oklahoma would blow teams out like 75-3 because point differential was so important in the BCS standings. So
Exactly.
just like mercilessly beating, Mercer College or whatever. You're just like, yeah. Anyway.
For sure.
All right. So yeah. I don't think there's anything else to say. The Niners, I'm really looking forward to Christmas. Monday Night Football, we're on the road. I don't love that, but it should be a good game. I'd like to see.
Yeah. It'll be a test for
the
both
Niners.
teams.
Yeah.
The Niners and Ravens have both blown out every like top tier opponent they faced. That's the only blowouts we have are like the Lions and the Seahawks. Division leaders who come home. So it'll be interesting to see what happens in that, immovable force against unstoppable object, right?
Yep.
So
and watch it's going to be like a 41-38 game too. Like
unstoppable force, immovable object. Jeez whiz. Sorry, say again.
That's all right. I was saying, imagine and watch the scores be like a 41-38 score too. Like,
probably
the complete opposite of what you would think it would be.
Yeah, it probably will. It'll be a shootout. All right, so let's talk about the other really, really great game this week. The Colts Titans, which I mean, I can't believe I want to talk about this game, but was really just an amazing game. I mean, I was glad I turned it on.
The Minch.
I was watching. I think I told you at one point I had the 4-pack of games on, and it was like I can't believe I'm watching. I was watching like Jets, Falcons, Broncos, Texans, Chargers, Patriots, and I think the Cardinals, Steelers was the fourth one. It was just such a bad 4-pack. And then I switched over to the Colts Titans after I saw that game seemed like it was pretty entertaining.
No, it was fun the whole way through. Like it was always a game you knew was in the balance, which made it fun. Yeah,
for sure. It was a great game. I love, we've talked about Minshew plenty, like him. He's a real easy quarterback to root for. You got to love the gunslinger. You got to love the, you got to love the emotion. You like all that stuff. But I'll tell you, Shane Steichen is, I think, the story of that game. I mean, I think of all the coaches this year, Steichen was way down on my radar.
Seemed I didn't know what to expect.
Seemed like you might be a decent coach or whatever. But man, to have this team playing this well with no Jonathan Taylor, no Anthony Richardson.
Yeah, that also might explain, we talked about the difference between Patrick Mahomes, the way he's playing with Bieniemy losing, like Steichen leaving. I mean, clearly there's a hangover with Hurts a little bit, right? Like, so maybe that's been part of the thing we've seen out of Philadelphia is just it's not so much that the guys aren't playing good still. It's just there's a difference, right? And
Sure.
is it different or is it they're learning a new system again and now they're not quite the master of it yet, like we've seen them be in the last couple of years.
Sure. Sure. Yeah. I mean, I think that's when you see what Steichen's doing in Indianapolis, you can't help but wonder if it's having a real impact in Philly, no question. And look, and all of a sudden the Colts are right there in the playoff hunt.
Yeah.
I mean,
I
look,
think they're a playoff team. They feel like a playoff team to me.
they're playing like they think they're a playoff team.
Yeah,
I mean, getting that win, that was a tough win.
right.
I mean, the Titans, again, divisional matchup.
Yep.
The Titans played them to wire to
In
wire.
Tennessee. Yeah, in Tennessee
in
too.
Tennessee.
Yeah.
Derrick Henry got hurt, which is a shame because always like
Yeah.
I'm not sure what his injury is, but
Oh, it was a concussion. And
he's
it
in the
was
process.
Oh yeah.
and I think he's already been cleared, but I watched it happen. And it was, it was one of those lights out while the guy's falling moments.
Yeah.
He went he never lost the ball, but you could just tell a change in the body a little
Yeah.
bit. And I'm like, oh, he's not coming back in.
Yeah.
And sure enough, he got ruled out. So I don't know.
Yeah.
I
Well,
think he's okay to play this week though.
so
Wow.
they won 4 in a row, and they've got. Do they have the Jags again? Right, a couple, once or twice.
I think they get the
Thankful.
I don't know.
Oh,
Pull up the schedule.
that's
That's
I
gonna
think we
set
talked
up-
about. Didn't we talk about that last? No, that's
That's.
different.
I don't know if that's whatever that is.
They
that's
get
gonna set
let's
up
see. So
for
hold on.
a
Here's
weekend.
here they have they do
Yeah.
not face the Jags again. They get the Bengals,
Oh,
Steelers, Falcons, Raiders, and Texans. Now the Texans are right there with them.
Yeah,
Um,
that'll be
although-
the NFL's hoping for that game to be the
matter.
final one.
woo!
and so let's shift just a little bit. I'm just going to say, I have no reason to say this. There's really no reason to think it. Given what we've seen from Stroud, he's been great. I mean, this is obviously the rookie of the year.
Yep.
Although
Yep.
the guy that I told you at the beginning of the season, Sam Laporta,
Father Laporta.
he is certainly making a case.
He's been doing great.
But you can't compete with a quarterback if a quarterback does stuff like this.
For sure.
But here's what I think is going to happen with the Texans. I think it's been a hell of a run. I think I need to look at their schedule before I speak too boldly about this. But I do think that this is the time of year where you're right there. You're getting into that week 12. You're getting to the last game that a college quarterback plays in a season. You might have a
Yeah.
bowl game coming up, but you get a month off between your last game and the bowl game half the time. You get weeks off anyway. And we're getting to that week 12 wall that rookies often hit, especially rookies that play every game, every down like Stroud.
Right. So the last 5 games the Texans have at the Jets, at the Titans, at home to Cleveland, at home to the Titans again, and then at the Colts.
So, the Jets game, is one that they'll probably win 6-3. Just because they're a better team. The Jets can't score, but they stop everybody from scoring.
Right.
The Titans game, you like to say, oh, sure, it's the Titans, but who knows? Again,
Never know.
December,
It's a division game.
Derrick Henry in December is when Derrick Henry plays his best football in December. When guys are a little worn down from the season and he just is able to, this is where he starts just gobbling up yards.
Comes less about speed, more about strength, which that is never his issue.
Was never his issue. So yeah, we're getting into Derrick Henry season. So who knows? That Titans game might be a surprise loss for the Texans, and the same with the Browns. I mean, Flacco really. I mean, look, he kind of fell off at the end of that game.
He looked better than Watson has all year.
He looked good. He looked good in the first half, and then I think that's maybe a conditioning problem. I mean, he's been doing who knows, been sitting home bouncing one of his 9 kids on his knees the last 12 weeks. So
Wait, when did Flacco become Philip Rivers?
Does Philip Rivers have a bunch of kids?
Yeah, I don't think.
I didn't know Flacco had a bunch of kids.
I think Flacco's got 4.
Philip Rivers has literally 9 kids or something like that.
I did not know
He
that.
lives in
Yeah,
a giant
Flacco has
shoe.
4.
His house is the shape of a big giant shoe.
He lives with this old lady. How many kids? Hold on. Now I want to know how many kids Rivers has. So hold on. How many kids? Because 4 kids are coming up. See, now I need to know.
He has 9 kids, 7 daughters
9
and
kids.
2
They're
sons.
expecting a 10th in
Yes.
October.
He wants
So-
the
No
tax
way.
credit. He wants the tax break is what he wants.
Good God, man. Get
You know
off
that
her.
if you get 10, there's a thing, I know at least in Texas, if you actually have 10 kids, they actually waive your taxes.
I
Like
mean,
you don't have to pay any income tax because you
pretty
have
good.
10 mouths to feed. And there was a family that we knew in the Austin area who did that. Literally shit out 10 kids so
10
that they didn't
kids.
have to pay the tax. I'm like, holy crap. And
I
they had
mean,
them all trained. They were
yeah.
all like, the oldest was teaching the ones below, and like they were all
Of course,
like a
you have.
little army.
How could
Little
you not have?
military.
You would have to have
I
children
know,
raising
like a
children.
little army.
You have children raising children. It's
Yeah.
God. I mean, and I get the
They were-
tax break
It's like a
too, because
farm.
it's your
It's like a
contribution, your economic
farm.
contribution to the state is greater than what they will collect from you, over the long haul. So I mean, the state has an incentive to
Sure.
promote, to promote having kids. I get that.
Yeah.
But I'm sorry. After 4, somebody should walk up to you and be like, "Get off of her." Be like, no,
What is this, China,
this is
Brian?
yeah. Well, just,
Hey, this
The
isn't
Lord
football, is what it's
said,
not.
have as many as
So,
you can take care of.
we
Yeah.
followed Joe Flacco into a really dark area, so let's.
Anyway,
He looked better. I will say that he definitely looked better than that offense has looked since Chubb went down for sure.
yeah.
But I mean, it's Joe. Like the defense will keep them in most games, and who
Well,
knows? I
that's
could see them being sneaky to like sneak their way into the playoffs even.
well, the context of that was just that they're playing the Texans, and that because of the
Right.
Browns defense playing so well, or being so good, that is another game that they could lose. I mean,
But do you really think that the Rams are better than the Texans?
I don't think the Rams are better than the Texans, but Joe Flacco's in week 1. So he's going to
No,
get
that's fair.
he's going to get better. And also CJ Stroud is in week 13. And so I think the fatigue of the season is going to start wearing on him. It's again, it's nothing against him. And there's not even really anything you can do conditioning wise, I think, to prepare for it. I think just as a rookie, the overwhelming odds are that, you start playing game 14, game 15, and you're just like, you hurt in ways that you've never hurt before, because by this time,
Sure.
your body has always been able to recover, be in recovery mode. And I just think that it starts to take a toll on rookies. It takes a year or 2 to get used to that.
We'll see.
Mhm.
We'll see as the weeks progress. That's
And
for sure.
offensive players in particular, it seems to be less impactful for defensive players who, depending on the position, obviously take fewer hits over the course of a season. And so the fatigue hits them in a different way. But anyway, we'll see. But that's my feeling. My feeling is that the Texans have been a great story and are a great story, and maybe come out of the season with 9 wins, which is still going to be 6 more than anybody thought they would get.
And the playoffs.
Well, maybe. Even
Right
hard to
on the
say.
cusp of that. Right on the cusp.
Right on
right
the
there.
in the conversation up to the last week,
Yep.
and maybe that Colts Texans game is a playoff game,
Mhm. Could be.
Anyway, so yeah, but I was really impressed with the Colts. I thought the fight to come back and win that game, to get it in overtime, I mean, that was big deal.
Mhm.
To come back, yeah. Anyway, that was whatever. It was good. It was just a good game.
Yep.
Another good game in that 1:00 slot was the Lions Saints.
Yeah.
And I have to start to wonder, because Carr is probably out, right? That's his second concussion this season, isn't it?
Yeah.
I
He
think
should.
so, yeah.
Him and his,
He's also
I'll tell
got
you,
a shoulder thing too. Like he got crunched.
Yeah.
Like he took 3 injuries in one hit, and I think one is okay. The other one is gonna have him probably out a little while, and then you have the concussion as well.
Yep.
Well,
I tell you, between him and his, like, could you imagine, like, Thanksgiving dinner with him and his brother in a few years? Someone's gonna have to feed both of them.
Yeah, those guys. I mean,
Two
Like,
guys that
really?
just got the
Got it.
shit beat out of them like on a daily,
Yeah.
on a
they
game by
are
game.
they are two guys who, at some point, one of their grandkids or kids needs to sit down with them and say,
Do you remember
"Dad,
me?
Dad, Uncle David, tell us again about the witch that cursed Grandpapa after he stole her shoes," because there's no other explanation for how those two guys have taken so many hits, come out of college, such high prospects, and then just been
Yes.
brutalized their entire careers, unless there
Yep.
is some sort of multi-generational witch curse. It's the only thing that makes sense. Like, yeah, we were in the Black Forests of Germany, and Dad's feet were cold, and Grandpa's feet were cold, and he found a pair of
The
shoes.
circle of life. I bet you they grew up sharing a room. They're going to be in the same home together, sharing a room at the end of the day.
Yeah, I mean,
Just
it's
they're not going to be able to
yeah.
do anything at the end of it. I mean, I hope and pray that they have a long life, pain
I
free.
mean, you probably
But
hope that they don't.
You're over there talking about the
if they're
drooling
not
at
going to know
Thanksgiving
what's going on
together.
around them, I
you
don't think.
you probably hope that they pass peacefully in their sleep at 48 before the worst of it comes. Um,
The one thing I mean, it was a good game, but one thing I do want to talk about, I'm saving us from some heartache from all the people who don't watch us. Um,
it's fine.
the one thing I was going to say though is like
Come at me.
Jared Goff did not look good in this game, like not at all. Like
No.
they scored 3 touchdowns, but that's because they picked them off. I know once and had a short field, and I mean they didn't do anything in the last 3 quarters. Something's going on with that Lions
And the
team. They've
defense
not
doesn't
looked the
look good.
same. Right. They've not
Ever
looked the
since the
same.
Ravens, the defense does not look good.
I honestly I would love to pick them as like my dark horse, but I more and more think they're going to be one and done in the playoffs. They're going to be upset early.
I agree.
The only caveat I would say to that is we kicked the living crap out of them. And we talked last time about how that can shell shock a team.
Yeah.
And Denver, I know that they lost this week, but Denver's been making strides in the right direction. It took them half a season, well, not half, but 6 games almost
Yeah.
to get out of what happened with Miami. It is possible that Detroit will get back to what works and stop trying to, like, maybe that's what it is. They're trying different things to not have that happen again. And I think they get back to it. I think they'll be an interesting team to see what happens late in the season.
Yeah, I mean, I think that they're learning lessons about Jared Goff along the way. I think that
Well, sure.
they're
I think
figuring
they
out
knew
that,
it. I think they knew it too, though. They didn't. They're not under no. They know exactly who he is.
yeah. Well, yeah, but I think they thought they could win with him, and I don't mean win games. I mean win.
Win the
like
Super Bowl.
or
I mean,
or close or get there or whatever. I mean, who knows? That
Mhm.
they thought that they had the potential to be a deep in the
still think
playoffs
he's
kind of team, but I'm not sure they are.
I think he's a top a top QB, not a top 10, but I think he's right around there. I think he's like 10.
I would say
11-ish, I would
they
say.
need another weapon on the offensive side of the ball in the receiving game to step up a little bit.
Mhm.
He's
Because
yeah, for
you
sure.
really have Amon-Ra St. Brown, and that's it. You got and
And,
Laporta.
and
You
Laporta.
don't have that. I mean, I think that's what Jameson Williams. They were hoping he would be that guy, and he's had moments, but not really. But if he could step up, that vaults them up into another tier.
And yeah, I mean, because Josh Reynolds is is a good Josh Reynolds, but a good Josh Reynolds is not a number 2.
He's your slot guy, right? He's your kind of he's your third string. He's not your second.
Correct.
Yeah.
Yeah, I agree. And I have to say though, I'm curious about whether or not the Saints are going to, if we're going to see a heavy dose of Taysom Hill this week. I kind of feel like, I mean, I know he was 0 for 2 passing this week. I mean, he threw 2 passes, they both missed, but he threw that deep ball with one of those passes and just missed. I mean, it was a beautiful pass that he just missed. I can't remember what the other pass was, but I kind of feel like, when he's in that lineup, when he's on the field, that is a different team. And
sure.
and
No, I
I
agree.
mean, if they, I didn't when he threw that deep pass. That's maybe the first time in a long time I've seen him really chuck one. And I was like, he throws a pretty nice ball. And I mean, obviously, I have to assume, that he's like Taysom Hill's like 33. I mean, he's not like a young guy. He's been around a long time.
Right.
So I have to assume they know what his limitations are. But you've got Jameis if you want to come in and you want to go, run a 2-minute offense or something like that. You've got a guy that you can theoretically do that with. And I'm not saying you don't rotate him in, but maybe you make Taysom your QB1 and see how it goes. Running that kind of, pistol option and see what you got.
I would say that sounds more like a Sean Payton led New Orleans Saints offense than the current coach. I forget his name, but like this guy, he feels like they do the whole thing with Taysom Hill, and that I feel like is stretching his boundaries of creativity a little bit. Like, because why wouldn't you have already tried some other things? They've had some struggles this season. You would think they wouldn't just keep doing status quo unless you don't have any other ideas. And that just feels like a Sean
Peyton had Drew Brees. And so there was never a reason for Peyton to do something like that. And I agree, Dennis Allen is not a creative coach. And I kind of feel like he's stepped in and he's like, well, this is how Sean did it.
No, and that's kind of what I mean. Like, he's a phenomenal assistant, but I think being a head coach is probably not his forte.
No. I don't think he's a good head coach. And the main reason that I say that is this is not a disciplined team. Like, they are sloppy and they're just undisciplined across the board. And that is coaching. That's coaching 100%. So I think that's the biggest flaw that they're dealing with is their lack of discipline.
And it surprises me every time I see this stat too, that Jimmy Graham is still playing.
I know.
like, wait, what?
I saw that. I was shocked. I was shocked.
Yeah, and he can still, catch one in the end zone.
He has like 3 or 4 catches for the season for like 3 touchdowns or something like that. He comes in because he's a big target in the end zone and he's got great hands.
Yep.
Like, they're like, look, you don't got the speed. You don't need that down here.
Yeah. He's Antonio Gates in the last 3 years of his career.
Yeah. Good for him though. Like, it's great that they see the value in him and he's still playing.
No doubt.
I mean, I remember the end of Antonio Gates's career where it's just like don't expect me to gain anything. Like, just give me the ball. 3 guys need to tackle me, so I'm going to get 3 extra yards.
Right.
And then we get down to the red zone. Like,
he's 37.
Just throw it up here because I can catch it and no one else can. It's crazy.
Yeah.
I have to say, and I know I shouldn't say this, but like when I was watching the Chiefs game and I watched Kelsey run down for that Hail Mary, he did not look good running that route. Did you notice? He looked slow and clunky. And
like something wasn't right.
Like either something wasn't right, but I'm also like, he's 30. And not that means anything, really. 30, you're still, but like 30 is usually where it's like, okay, you're going to start to see the tick down. And, I mean, as much as Kelsey's done, I wonder if that could be a more rapid descent.
I saw it honestly more as I know that how much time I've got and I don't have to kill myself to save my energy.
It could be that too, sure.
Because when he wants to activate it, like, he looks like the same old guy. Like, I don't think he's quite. You're not wrong. He's getting older, but I don't think he's there yet. I kind of saw it as more of I know how long I've got to get down here, and I've got 7 more seconds. So
I think it was just the first time that I've seen him kind of look sluggish.
It was lumbery for sure. It was not what you normally see out of him.
Yeah,
because I do remember noticing that.
Yeah, I mean, again, not to go back to that game, but just it was noticeable. All right.
Where's Grambo? Oh, never mind. Go ahead.
Grambo, Jimmy Graham.
Yeah, I was gonna say, where does Grambo? Is he like approaching? Because he's 4th right now on on all-time lists for tight ends as far as touchdowns. I was wondering if he was like approaching someone for 3rd. Maybe he's hanging on. He's gonna hang on for a couple years and catch a bunch of 6-yard touchdowns.
How close is he? That would probably be the answer.
I mean, if you've got a gig where you only have to play a couple downs every game,
right? Man,
and you make 6 figures. Like, I mean, I'm sure he's not making.
It's like being a punter for the 49ers. Like,
right, yeah. I mean, I'm sure Jimmy Graham's not making $15 million a year at this point. I mean, I'm sure it's much closer to 1. or
Whatever the league
even like
minimum is.
750 or league minimum. Yeah. For a league minimum for a guy with that much time, is probably not bad because, he's got to have 15 years experience. Well, maybe 12 or something like that.
870 is the league minimum
Okay.
for a 1-year contract.
Okay.
So
for a vested player. Yeah.
for a veteran, yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Yep.
So he's
Well,
probably.
I see what it is. It looks like Kelsey is 10 behind him. And Gronk is only 5 ahead of him. He's
So
chasing Gronk.
So he wants to go make the case that he was a better tight end than Gronk.
That's what he wants. Number 3. He wants
Good
slot
luck.
number 3. And
Good
then
luck.
the other ones are way out. Not way out, but they're out.
All I can say is that I haven't seen him act, and I already know he's a better actor than Gronk.
Kelsey maybe.
I mean, Kelsey's not bad. Kelsey's all right.
I actually like Kelsey. I really like Kelsey. And the commercial that makes me literally howl out loud in laughter is the Mahado and the Mahomes. I just think that's the most brilliant idea.
I'll give credit for that one. That's pretty clever.
It is just hysterical.
Especially when Kelsey makes his pitch for Kelsey, how much you can save.
Exactly.
It's pretty funny. I mean, yeah, he's not going to win any awards, that's for sure. But he's not nearly as wooden as a lot of players I've seen. I
think that comes from their podcast. Both him and his brother are that way. They're very charismatic and able to, just kind of. You were like, well, he's a football player, but he's actually not bad for a football player. Like that's your expectation. Like they're exceeding your expectation, right?
Well, because he's able to let his personality come through, and most of these guys are not able to do that.
Yeah,
exactly.
Mahomes does all right as well. He's not great, but he does all right. Same kind of thing where he's in limited roles, he's fine. Justin Herbert is the one that I can't stand. The SoFi commercials. Good God, I'm like, man, good for you.
Subway commercial,
huh?
He's okay in the Subway commercial.
Yeah, for like the 2 seconds that he is. Isn't that
exactly?
No, he was like, it's something about having to be does it have to be a Super Bowl MVP or something? That's pretty funny. Exactly. I mean, I guess he's all right too. I just the commercial's dumb.
Yes.
Anyway, yeah. All right. I'll tell you this though, the worst football player actor right now, in a commercial that I've seen, is C-Mac. In the Lowe's commercial,
I haven't seen it.
They give him the best line.
I don't know if I think I have seen it. I've seen it.
The best line. It is the funniest line that any of the football players have, and he is so painfully unfunny with it.
You're right about
where
that.
They're like, where he's like, I don't know, gets a drill or something out of his locker, and they're like, take it to the house. He's like, yeah, I will. That's where I live. And it's supposed to be dry, but he fails even in that. It's so bad. It actually, like, every time I see that commercial, it irritates me because I'm like, any of these other guys could have delivered that line. Like this guy, so bad.
So since we're talking commercials, I want to throw something out at you guys. Sure. It's just an observation I had from the Monday night game. So I was watching the game, and in the peak pinnacle part of the game, there was a break where Joe Bucks, and now we're going to go to one of our partners, Movada, for 15 seconds and blah, blah, blah. It was just a quick intermission kind of thing. And I had this thought. I'm like, what did it take for ESPN to take Aikman and Buck away and get them on Monday Night Football? And that thought that crossed my mind is, what if that was a part of their contract package, that they get a 15-second spot in every NFL, in every game that they're doing, that they get to sell the rights to? And that then kind of turns into a more lucrative opportunity for them because it puts the onus on them.
Maybe.
Like I'm like, because it was just so out of whack, right? We have those short commercial breaks, but you don't have those. And here's a message from our advertisers, and then coming back that quickly. And that's why I thought that for a second. I'm like, and good for them if they did. Like, it was just kind of I don't know. I'll be watching closer on Monday Night Football from here on out to see, do they do that every week? Because it makes me wonder now.
I am ready for Aikman to enjoy his golden years and retire. I just really can't stand. he brings nothing to the broadcast booth. I mean, just absolutely
yeah,
nothing.
I definitely like that guy.
I mean, I swear. I mean, he's what I liked. Sorry, just to digress for another minute. Watching Monday night when he was talking about DeForest Johnson or
uh-huh.
whatever that guy's name, the backup running back, Dearness
Yeah,
Johnson,
yeah,
and he's like, and Buck tries to tee him up with like, I know he's one of your
yep,
favorite players in the league, da, 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 da.
yep,
Like, and this is you've got here's who are your guys again? It's this guy, Dearness. He's like, and Dearness Johnson. Yep.
yep.
What the
It's
hell,
like
man? Like, what
really,
the hell? It was. I really, I thought like at that moment they should have had a comically large hook come out and like pull him off stage, like it's a vaudeville show, like just have the Sandman come out and sweep him off the stage, something, because that guy does not care anymore at all. I don't think he was ever good, but he's now downright offensive to listen to. Like, I'm like, I I would do a better job calling any of these games than Troy Aikman at this point.
and
But I always, huh?
go ahead. I'll let you finish
Yeah.
first.
I mean, I know I wouldn't shut up, but
I was just gonna say I would rather listen to them 10 out of 10 times though than Chris Collinsworth and Mike Tirico.
well, Tirico's awful. He's always been terrible. I don't know why why they ever think he's good. I'm not sure. Like they put him on the A games and stuff. And I don't understand. Well, they put Jim Nance on the A games. Tirico usually gets the B game, but still they
Not
think
anymore.
he's
Not anymore. He's Sunday Night Football now.
well, I know, but I meant for all that time when he was with CBS,
Oh, in the
he was
past,
always
yeah,
he
no,
was
you're
like the
right.
B team. Jim Nance always had the A game. He always got the B
Yeah,
game,
yeah.
and I'm like, man, I mean, granted, Solomon Wilcots and whoever Solomon Wilcots is with is always going to be the worst team calling a game in the entire league. That Solomon Wilcots, who can't remember a guy's name like Joe Flacco. I mean, I'm like, I'm sorry, man. Like, it is time to go to
Yeah.
pasture. Like, go enjoy your retirement. I'm sure you have grandkids at this point. Like, go enjoy them. You suck at this. You should pay people to have to listen to you call a game. Mike Tirico has always just been annoying, not good, thinks he's very good, which makes him annoying.
Yeah.
And then whoever they put him with, Collinsworth, I used to think Collinsworth was okay.
Same. Used
but
to.
but God, he's so bad now. And I mean, half the time I don't even feel like he's watching the game. Like I've seen he called they called one, was it this week or last week, where Collinsworth called like oh no, yeah, it was this week where they were like where he was basically praising the defensive player for like knocking a pass down or whatever, and then you go back and watch the replay and it's like, nope, just a drop. It was just a drop. Like it was like the defensive player didn't get anywhere near it. It wasn't close. And Collinsworth's like, what an incredible play. And just goes on and on and on about what incredible defense. It's like, no, he whiffed. He whiffed from like 2 yards away, and it was a drop. And like, I mean, and I get it that from the booth you can't always see everything. I get that.
You know they got monitors up there too.
But
they've got more angles than we do. I'm
right.
certain of it.
I'm sure. But it was just like, good God, man. And then when it became obvious that he didn't get his hand on the ball,
Oh yeah.
he never said, "Oh, it was just a drop." He just was like, because then Tirico said, "Well, it was Tirico like tried to give him the soft out." He's like, yeah, he's been playing great defense. Obviously, a drop there. It was just, or obviously
Yeah,
just like a drop there. And Collinsworth's like, I mean, just incredible defense. Like, oh my God.
Yeah.
What are you talking about? Like, that might be true, but it makes no sense. It seems like you still don't realize that he was nowhere near the ball. No, Collinsworth's bad. I mean, I feel like he's just like, I don't know. They just like the way he smiles. And then that's the end of that.
I haven't liked him in years.
I
still stand by it. The best team is on Thursday night.
Yeah, no question. But I think Collinsworth just needs to go back to governing California and leave the rest of us alone.
Exactly.
You think he looks like him?
You don't think he does?
Newsom? I mean, now that you said that, I've never thought that before. But now that you say that, I can see it. They have the same shaped head.
Same shaped head, same slick back hair. It's the same.
Yeah. Like they could be brothers for sure.
They have the same sharky smile,
Yep.
like
Yep.
that smile that's a little bit too big that, it's like the fox smile. You know what I mean? Like it's the trust that you can trust me. You can trust me.
Yeah. Oh,
Um,
yes.
It's Collinsworth ought to run for office. He's got the politician smile. You know,
If they do look, I'm looking at them side by side right now, and I see it.
but yeah, that's it is amazing to me how few good broadcasters there are. It is really quite astonishing that so few of them are able to do this. The Sunday, I'm sorry, the football teams, like the teams that do this, sorry, Fox is fucking unwatchable. Absolutely fucking unwatchable anymore. I can't. Terry Bradshaw. I feel
Oh my
so
God.
bad. I feel so bad for this man. I feel like I'm like, please, like whatever cocktail of drugs you're putting him on just to keep him alive for the broadcast, please stop. Please stop.
Cease.
Let him go and live it, like enjoy his life. Leave this poor man alone. Let him die in peace. Like stop doing this to him. It's torture at some point. You're Bruce Willising this guy.
Yeah. Well, I mean, that poor guy. I think I know, granted, I don't watch those shows really. I haven't. I kind of watch them like I'm sitting at a bar, but I can't hear them. The sound's down.
Sure.
I can't tell what the hell's going on. They annoy the shit out of me, each one of them, so I never really watch them anyway.
Well, I
But
can't
gotta
stand
say,
all the bits they do. That's for sure.
I can't either. That's why I stopped watching them. They drive me bananas.
I only watch the NFL Network.
See, I haven't watched. Actually, I used to watch the NFL Network before games, but now I haven't been. I haven't been just because it's a bit of a hassle for me to switch because of YouTube now. It's a little bit more complicated on my TV. But so switching back and forth is just, I mean, again, this is just super lazy, but it's so that I can turn on pregame and like do stuff around the house, listen, not necessarily watch when I'm in the living room or whatever.
Just buy a little switch that flips it back and forth for you.
No, because I have to, long complicated story, but what's the matter? What happened to your camera? I have to put it on my smart TV, whereas I usually use a Fire Stick or Roku, but like I usually use the Fire Stick. But I have to watch YouTube on my smart TV, or I don't know. There's something weird that doesn't work right on the Fire Stick. So, but all my other channel, I have nothing set up on the smart TV. I know I don't use it for anything because I have the Fire Stick. So, like if I want to watch ESPN or things like that, it's all logged through the Fire. So I have to like switch the input to go back and forth. So it's just it's just more of a pain to like, input switch rather than something else. I don't know. It's whatever. And then
I sent you guys something in the chat, by the way. It's contextual to what we were just talking about a minute ago.
So to continue with this whole thing really quickly, I think but it's not just that it says it doesn't exist. Sorry. So yeah, it does not exist.
Here, I'll just share my screen.
I'm looking. I'm sorry. I'm logging in. I'm logging into to the tweet storm here.
Here you go.
Oh, it's making me very.
I'm just sharing my screen.
That's Alec. Is that Alec Baldwin right there?
Yeah, and Gavin down there in the lower right.
Gavin. Yep.
Yeah, I don't see the Alec as much. I see a lot more of the Collins.
I don't either. I don't see Alec either, but I do see the other guys. I do see the other two.
But yeah, sorry. Back to the Fox. The Fox one though, they have Gronk, and he's absolutely beyond bad. He's so bad. I feel so bad. Huh?
They have him there for that reason.
To be that bad?
To be the quirky, dumb jock guy in the room with all these other guys that can barely speak anymore.
Yeah, but the problem is they don't use him that way. They basically are like, "Hey, Gronk, read this cue card," and like so everything he says is like, "You know what I was thinking the other day is a thing that completely makes no sense because I don't know how to do a transition," and it's just it's like God, it's so insincere, it's so ungenuine.
Right.
How he's still fine. I have never liked since they got rid of JB and brought in Kurt Menefee. Kurt Menefee's terrible.
Yeah.
James Brown wasn't great, but he's better than Menefee. And I hated that they were like, well, we're getting rid of a rotund black guy. Let's find a rotund black guy to replace him. And it's just, good God, Strahan's okay. I mean, I think Strahan's charming, like in spite of himself, but because he's charming and he cares a lot about being charming, you know, he's never gonna, but he's never going to tell you, he's never going to say anything that's going to like make your ears perk up, because he's way too cautious. He's way too like, I like doing live with Kelly and Michael. I don't want to do anything to jeopardize my mainstream appeal. And so he won't even take the most subtle of hot takes on anything going on. Everything is so like just overly cautious, as if he has made sure to like run everything that he wants to say through 3 or 4 teams of like political consultants before he says it. I mean, Jimmy Johnson, God bless him, he's got his moments, but he's not there either. He is
they're getting old.
Every once in a while, Jimmy Johnson's talking, and I think Jimmy genuinely believes he's in the Cowboys locker room right now. I think he's lost. I think he forgot that he's on set. Yeah, it's just, and then who's the other old coach? The other old coach sucks too. I can't remember. Oh, it's Boomer. Boomer sucks. No, Boomer's CBS. Who's the other one?
Is it the Jaw? Is he still on there or no?
No, Jaworski's been. No, that was
not Jaworski. Not Jaworski. The Jaw from the Pittsburgh head coach. What's his face?
Cowher. Yeah, I can't say them either.
Is Bill Cowher still on there?
Yeah, Cowher's on there, and he's terrible. Yeah, I mean, but he's also terrible. I mean, he's also terrible. Anyway, sorry.
I don't like any of the main network shows.
Thursday's great. They got to dump Tony Gonzalez and bring in somebody better. But other than that, Thursday's great. It's a perfect combination, except for Tony Gonzalez is the only one who brings nothing to the table. I mean, he's competent, so that's good. But like,
he's also awkward.
But he does not seem like he's having a good time. Everybody else does. Tony feels like, I mean, I guess the best way to describe it is Tony feels like, man, I want to get into that Strahan gig. How can I do it? You know what I mean? Like he feels like he's like, he's a great value, Michael Strahan, trying to figure out how to get that job on another network. So yeah, he's got to go. I mean, I'm telling you, man, bring Marshawn in. Throw a bomb into that room. Anyway, sorry.
Maybe.
That'd be so much fun. All right, let's see what else we have here. Sorry.
I don't really need to talk about the Cards and Steelers too much. I just wanted to say, like, guys, we got an early Christmas present this week, because Cardinals beat the Steelers, the Rams beat the Browns.
Yeah.
Jags. The Chiefs got beat by the Packers. The Jags got beat by the Bengals. The only team that didn't win was the Commanders beating Miami.
Yeah, which was never going to happen.
No, it never was. And it was like, if anybody's going to win, you want to just beat Miami or Jacksonville, because they're both in front of us still. But we control our own destiny as far as first in the division, the conference goes.
Yeah, completely. Completely.
All right. Speaking of that, let's start picking games here. We got 15 minutes.
Well,
left.
Yeah, I was going to say, I think, is that the last of the? I think that is probably the last one.
I just put mine in.
But Bucks beat the Panthers. Who cares? Talk about the Bengals. Yeah, I guess that's it.
Yeah.
I've never been so confident when I hit the save button this week, by the way. I don't know what it is. It just felt like it was magical. It felt like it was magical. And this picking, by the way, goes through to the playoffs too, doesn't it?
It sure does.
All right.
Which will be interesting.
Yeah, that was a cool. I saw that option, so I'm like, yeah, definitely. We need to go all the way through. So.
Yeah, it's very cool. So
before we start picking, gentlemen, I want to say one thing to remind you, because I need to get these, because I want to mail out your gifts, because I want to get them on camera. Get your gifts on camera.
You want to? Didn't we give you our address already?
No. So send me your addresses, and I'll get them out in the mail this week. I'll get them out in the mail, maybe even tomorrow. I have to go to UPS tomorrow anyway, so send them to me. All right. First game up, New England at Pittsburgh. Pittsburgh, a 6-point favorite. Probably the first time all year they've been favored by more than like 3 points.
No way, baby. This is Patriots all day.
I really struggle with this because this is that moment. Is Kenny Pickett out, right? So we've got Trubisky in there, which I'm
Yep.
not sure is a step down or a step up.
The
You've
biscuit.
got the
Sir.
Pats offense is absolutely abysmal, but their defense is lights out.
Yep. Too much of a spread for that defense.
Bailey
6
Zappi
points.
is worse than Mac Jones, which didn't seem possible.
Yeah, I hate this line because I could see this very easily being a push as well.
Yeah.
I'm gonna go Pittsburgh purely because they're at home on a short week.
I want to see one thing really quick and see if the
I just think
Patriots have.
Trubisky he'll keep the offense at least moving enough to score. It might be 9-0, but
So here's what's fun. I was looking to see if it was going to be Zappi or if Mac Jones was going to start or who's starting. And here's the headline. Bailey Zappi reveals New England Patriots starting quarterback versus Pittsburgh Steelers? ? Zappi indicated Belichick has made the identity of the team starter pretty clear for their Week 14 matchup. And then the article proceeds to not tell us anything. So that's cool. That's cool.
that's
I mean, I hate this game. I hate everything about it. I hate that it's on Thursday Night Football, and I'm gonna watch. And I'm gonna be mad that I'm watching the whole time. And it's gonna be
I refuse
terrible.
to watch it.
Yeah, I'm saying I say the same thing now, but I know what's gonna happen Thursday night, and because it'll be like, there's football on.
Yeah,
My
it'll be on in the
Christmas
background.
party. My
So-
company Christmas party is that night, so
Oh, so you've got
I
you're
I
good.
have a reason to not watch intentionally.
And I'm
Good
leaving
call.
town on Friday, so I've got I'll probably be packing and watching. Going down. Sorry, last little thing before I make my pick. Going down to Orlando, watch the game on
Ooh.
Sunday. Going down to Orlando
Sweet.
for the weekend. Sunday, going to be watching the game. My cousin does this huge Ravens flock party. He closed
Same
out
as last year, right?
Same as last year. He does it every home game except for he doesn't do any primetime games. And we haven't had a chance to go down this season. So it's the first one we're going to and the last one they're doing because he'll be out of town when for the next like normal time game is after this one, the next normal time game is the Dolphins. And he's going to be he's going to that game. He's going to be in Maryland. So anyway,
Sweet.
so yeah, I guess I'll reluctantly take Pittsburgh at home, and I think, yeah, this is a miserable game.
Yeah,
There's no winner there. We should all boycott that one.
yeah.
Tampa Bay going to Atlanta. Atlanta favored by 2.5. That's the home point spread.
Hotlanta, baby.
Home field.
Hotlanta.
I think I'm going to go the same way.
Yeah, I am too. That makes 3 of us.
Yeah.
All right, Detroit going to Chicago, 3-point favorite. That's a small line.
Chicago.
That's the Justin
Yeah.
Fields effect.
I'm gonna go Detroit on this one. I think Detroit needs to start getting right. And as bad as they looked last week, they still won that game by 5 points. So
Yeah, I'm gonna go with the Bears. I think at home, I think they keep it to a field goal. They might not win it, but they're gonna keep it close. Justin Fields has been playing really well. He's playing for his future. I think they're gonna keep
it could be
close.
a push. It could be a push game. The
Yeah.
Bears defense has been playing better though. Like, so they do deserve credit, and that could be part of the line as well.
Well, Montez Sweat is
Yeah.
learning the system
He's-
and is playing better. And I think
they're coming off a bye week too. I'm still going to stay to Detroit.
I was gonna say, and do the sorry, Mike, your camera's off.
It's because my phone's probably about to die. I'm waiting for you guys to go for the next, and I was in another room. So it shuts itself off. There we go.
Consummate professional. Where are the Bears? I want to see the Bears now. What's the Bears record? Where are they?
The Bears.
I can't. Sorry. I keep clicking on the wrong thing and then I got lost. Where are the Bears? Oh, here we go. Here's the record. Bears are 4-8. All right. Bears are 4-8, but they have nothing to they have, because they have the Panthers pick, and the Panthers are almost certainly going to get the number 1 overall pick. The Bears can actually try and actually play to win. Play spoiler, play to win. Who knows? Maybe you're in the NFC, maybe you win out, you get a playoff spot. I mean, I think that's highly unlikely, but they have a lot to play for because they're not dependent on the draft pick. They're going to get 2 outstanding picks regardless.
Sure.
Yep.
So yeah, I like Chicago. I'm going to stick with Chicago. All right, I like that. I like Chicago in that game. All right, Indy at Cincinnati, 2.5-point favorite. The Colts. Even after Cincinnati's big win.
Hottest team in the NFL, the Indianapolis Colts, baby, and I'm riding it.
So you don't believe in Browning, you're telling me?
Nope. Well, I do believe in him, but not in this game.
I'm going Bengals at home, and I think they figured something out.
I agree with you. I think the Bengals. I think this is a close one, but
agreed.
I'm going to ride the hot hand of Browning for 1 week. See what happens.
What's the public saying on that one here?
The public is saying Cincinnati 56.
56%. All right,
pretty
good. I'm glad.
Pretty even split. Jacksonville at Cleveland. Cleveland is the favorite.
Whew.
Although, what's the line? Because it's telling me off.
Okay.
It couldn't have moved that much. Well, was he hurt before the line came out?
Had it backwards again or something like that. The line is Cleveland favored by 3.
Okay.
Yep.
Yeah, so it hasn't changed.
I'm taking Big Joe Flacco in this one, baby. Cleveland.
I think I'm going to do the same, and that's partly because of the injury to Trevor Lawrence.
Yeah, I mean, I think Beathard's competent, but that Cleveland defense is tremendous, and that Cleveland at home.
Play again too.
Yeah, I think I think Cleveland. I like Cleveland in that one.
Yeah.
Carolina going to New Orleans. New Orleans 5.5-point favorite. No Derek Carr. Or at least I don't think he's going to be there. I mean, I'm not sure if he's been ruled out, but I'm pretty sure he's out.
He's out. I'm still going with New Orleans.
Yeah, I probably will as well.
Yeah, I like New Orleans. I think we're going to see a lot of Taysom Hill, and I kind of think.
I feel like it's a garbage game, though.
Oh, it's absolutely garbage. But I think Taysom Hill, I think we're going to see a lot of him, and I think it's a chance for him to shine. Yeah. All right, Houston going to the Jets, 6.5-point favorite. That's a big line, 6.5 point.
Take Houston in this one.
That was very certain of you, Mike. Hey, you're convinced. Yeah,
I've been
with us.
I've been listening to my Billy Walters book again.
Okay, so why do you think Houston?
It's a complex formula that I have to.
Like your gambling guide for GA.
First, you have to gargle 3 ounces of bullshit.
Well, here's the deal. I'm looking at it like this. Houston, I think, is a really good team.
Yeah.
And I think the Jets can't score for shit. And they do have a good defense, but I just think Houston's going to outscore them by far more than 6.5.
I'm going to go with the Jet. I do not like that line.
I think that I'm going to take the Jets as well, because I think the Jets have been playing a lot of 13-8 kind of football, and Houston lost Tank Dell, and all of a sudden they have nobody taking the top off of a defense. Now, Nico Collins is great, and Noah Brown seems serviceable, good at times.
Yep.
But that Jets defense is swarming.
Yep.
Yeah, I think 6.5 is too much of a spread. This feels like a 13-10 kind of game.
And I can see Houston winning, but I do think the Jets will probably keep it pretty close.
Yeah, I mean, I think the Jets D knows that everything's on them, and they're playing like it. They're playing like
They
they're
want to
playing
give
like a
a
team that
reason.
knows.
They want Rodgers to come back.
They're playing like a team that knows that they can't win if they give up more than 13.
Yeah.
So they are not.
Yep.
Yeah. All right.
It's a scary team when they have an actual offense.
Yeah, I agree. Although I can't imagine that defense can sustain that for like a whole season. But yeah, it's a good defense, no question. It's nice to see my boy CJ Mosley doing well.
You can sustain it if you're not having to carry the team all season.
Yeah, well, right.
They need that. I mean, I feel like the Jets have to draft a quarterback regardless of what happens with Rodgers, just to even get somebody kind of prepping for a few years.
Well, or even if they draft a guy in the 3rd round or, something like that, that's more of a project as a backup,
Agreed.
Yeah, I something. Because they have Rodgers for this year and next year, or is it 3 years?
I think we looked up last time. It was a 3-year. I think they have 2 more years after this with him.
Yeah. So you
but
draft
they'll
a 3rd.
Probably restructure the last one. I think it was one of those balloon payment things.
Yeah. Drafting a guy in the 2nd or 3rd round, if one of the top tier guys doesn't fall to you, I think that makes a lot of sense.
Yeah.
All right, so I'm not sure if I can read this one. Baltimore, I don't know, against the Los Angeles Lars. So yeah, Baltimore's got to go coast to coast. Or no, sorry, the Rams have to go coast to coast. 7-point favorites. The line's dropping a little. That's crazy. All right. So Baltimore's a 7-point favorite.
Well, it's because the Rams just dropped 30 points on the Browns. So
right.
I'm going to start my pick with the Rams, but that could change in the week. I'm going to pick them for tonight, though. The Rams, I'm going to start with the Rams.
I'm going to take the Birds coming off the bye week, and they're the much better team.
They are.
Harbaugh is almost unbeatable after the bye.
Yeah.
And I think 7 points, with our defense, they'll do that. I really like Matthew Stafford. I think he's really done a great job. I think he's one of the great unsung quarterbacks in the NFL. Poor guy stuck with the Lions all those years, languishing.
I just hope that we don't break him this weekend.
So yeah, but I think the Ravens.
Van Noy and Clowney are going to meet in the middle.
I think the Ravens are going to come out this week with the a week ago everybody was talking about us as the best team in football. We take a bye, and now all of a sudden it's like everybody's like it's the 49ers and no one else is close. I think they're going to come out and make a case.
Yep.
I think they're going to come out and make.
Not to mention, if you think about it, it's like Harbaugh's he gave them the week off last week.
Yeah.
Which you never really see get done very often, which was a big oh cool, we all get to heal up. And then with everything we talked about that went in our favor this weekend, he's got all the talk tape he needs to go to the team and go, guys, this is ours for the taking. We went out, we get another bye week, and that gives us the best odds of making the big one. It's a great motivation.
A bye week, and everybody has to come here.
Yep. So
as long as nobody looks up that the Ravens have never won a Super Bowl as the number 1 seed.
There's always the first time it happens.
Of course. I was gonna say, I mean, all right. Let's see. Minnesota going to Vegas. 3-point favorite.
Choosing.
This is Mike's game.
Yeah, I am taking Minnesota.
Yeah, are they both coming off bye weeks?
They are.
I feel like they are.
Well, no. The Vikings. No. The Raiders are. The Raiders are coming off.
They both are. They're both coming off bye weeks.
Wait.
The Vikings didn't play last week.
Yeah. You're right. Yeah.
I'm gonna go Vikings.
Sorry, I was thinking about the 4 interceptions Dobbs threw, but that was against the Bears.
Yeah, that was 2 weeks ago. Yeah.
No, that was last week. Last week against the Bears. They lost 12-10.
Right. Okay. Yeah.
Yeah.
on
Yes.
Monday night. Last game week there.
Correct. Yeah. Yeah, I'm going to take the Vikings too. 3 points. Justin Jefferson's coming back. I think, I think the Vegas defense is pretty stout though, but yeah, Justin Jefferson's just too good a target.
Mm-hmm.
Seattle going to San Francisco. San Francisco is 10.5-point favorites.
What a major line. And that's a big movement in a couple of days.
I'm taking Seattle.
Man, I hate that line. It's just so big. But you can totally see the Niners waxing them like that very easily at the same time.
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to ride the heat wave. I'm going to San Francisco.
I'm going to take Seattle. In a risky play, but I think they got embarrassed by the Niners the first time, but Seattle was a different team then.
Yeah, they were a better team.
No, they're a better team. No, they're a better team now.
They've lost 3 straight.
Yeah, but they've been playing better. Seattle's lost 3 straight?
Yes, and they played last week better. Yes, the previous 2 they had not.
No, they have. I think they got right last week, and so I think but they got right against the wrong team.
Yeah, they're about to get punched in the mouth, so we'll see. I think that win takes a lot out of them.
Maybe. Yeah, maybe. All right, Buffalo. See, I think San Francisco is going to they're going to be underprepared for this one. Buffalo goes to Kansas City. Kansas City's a 2.5-point favorite. This is a kind of a must-win for both of those teams.
KC all day.
Buffalo more than Kansas City, though, I guess.
Yeah, I don't like Buffalo this year.
They are coming off a bye week, though. I don't see Kansas City losing multiple games in Kansas City, though.
I thought the same thing. 2 in a row at home seems unlikely.
Yeah. I think they're going to want to get right after losing the way they did.
Yep, for sure. Kansas City as well.
Yeah.
The Chargers, Denver goes to LA, and the Chargers are 3-point favorites. Excuse me.
I'm going Denver. I don't have any faith in that Charger team right now.
I'm going to go Denver as well.
It's a tough one, though.
We'll make it a sweep. We all go Denver.
Yeah.
Philly going to Dallas. Dallas is a 3.5-point favorite.
This is not even a question to me. This is Philly all the way.
I'm going Philly.
Yeah, me too.
Yeah, Philly needs to make a statement after what happened last week.
Yeah, for sure. All right, and the line of the week. This is Mike's gambler's paradise right here.
Damn right it is.
Tennessee at Miami, 14-point favorite. Miami.
How do you not take Tennessee? I'm taking Tennessee all day. This is the game of the week right here. Tennessee. This is my lock of the week. If you don't take it, you're missing out at the house on Tennessee.
And I foolishly will go Fins.
I hate this game.
Monday Night Football, prime time. Miami's ready to show that they're the best team in the NFL.
Oh, they'll win.
No, but I think they want to show somebody something.
Okay.
And they're at home. Depends on Derrick Henry too, right?
Yeah, it depends on Derrick Henry.
Without him, that offense is not good at all.
Not even a little. The question is whether or not Tennessee can keep them close.
I mean, it's a big line.
Yeah, but Miami is an explosive. They're such an explosive scoring team.
And they don't take their foot off the pedal.
No.
At all.
No,
he's no longer in concussion protocol. Okay, so
I just switched my pick. I was going to go Tennessee, but I'm going to take Miami.
That's a good one.
I mean, that's
we clearly don't believe you, Mike, and your.
That's okay. That's okay. That
All right.
separates us. That separates me from the rest of the pack.
Yeah.
Those are the
Okay.
types of games.
It-
Those are the types of games
definitely
that win it
does.
for me.
You're profound in your statement. It separates you from the rest of the pack.
That is true.
That
The
doesn't mean it means you better.
the wisdom of the crowd on that one is 71% picking Miami.
That's great for me then. I'm definitely going Tennessee.
Yeah. The only game with a bigger crowd line, oh, two games with a bigger crowd line are New Orleans over Carolina with 78% and 72% with Pittsburgh over New England.
You're pretty safe to
Oh,
whenever
and
you have
Detroit.
huge. Yeah, you're pretty
Yeah,
safe
Detroit.
whenever you have huge public opinions to go the opposite. You're pretty safe with that.
That
That's
just
another,
That's a good strategy. That's a good strategy to use.
is that your political worldview too?
No.
it
Just
really
in
is. No,
sports.
your belief is that the majority is usually wrong.
I'm sorry, guys.
The
I have
majority
an
is
idea
usually
that's
the
on
ignorant.
me. We're not going to do that.
No. But I mean, it's that whole
Mhm.
idea though. Is do you believe in the collective wisdom of the crowd or not?
No, the collective ignorance of the crowd, I believe in.
Exactly. That's what he was saying. This is your political
Yeah.
worldview.
Yes.
Believe
I
in
agree. I agree.
minoritarian rule.
Yeah, I agree with that. I do.
Yes, I know. Minoritarian authoritarianism. Green Bay going to the Giants, 6.5-point favorites.
The pack.
Interesting.
Going with the pack, baby. My boy
Big
Love.
emotional wins.
Dr. Love.
Big emotional win. Giants
Danny
coming off a bye
DeVito
week.
getting the start again.
Giants coming off a bye week.
This is one game that's pending a potential change simply because the public is at 67%. But I don't know. I'm going to have to take a look. But right now, I'm going with Dr. Love.
I'm not saying who's going to win, but I think I'm going to go Giants.
Yeah, I'm going Giants as well. Not to win. I think Green Bay wins this game, but I think I think it's a 3-point game.
I'll tell you guys, if you guys are right and I'm wrong, you're going to gain some really good ground on me this week because we've got some games where we're opposites, me and both of you.
Yeah.
Which is what
We're
you guys need.
so far behind you.
I know.
A whole
We're
point.
only a few, but a point? Are you 1 point? I thought it was more. The numbers were different.
Maximum
We're all
3.
three within 3 points.
Yeah.
Oh, I thought there was a 3-point differential between me and the second place person.
No.
I got you.
From top to bottom is 3 total. Yeah.
Yeah.
And that's literally been wavering every week. Because you had a decent week this week and I didn't. And the week before, I think I did. And then the week before, Brian did. So it's like, it's just flipping around.
Yeah. All right. Well,
none of us can separate.
All right.
Well, this week I will. This week.
Click and
Yeah,
save
you're
on
right.
my
You
picks.
will. You're going to go below us.
I'm creeping up there. I'm gonna win this thing in the end. It's gonna be a Cinderella story. Comeback.
There's a lot of football left. There's a lot of football left.
Comeback story of the year.
Hey, we should really figure out at the end, whoever wins after the playoffs, there should be something. There should be some kind of a prize. Like the other two buy the winner something. We'll have to figure that out. So
I'll buy you a little soccer trophy, and I'll put a little sticky note on it that says "Pick 'em winner, Mike," and I'll put a little tape around it.
What if G Money wins? Same thing.
Same thing.
Oh, okay.
But if I win, you buy the soccer trophy.
No, if you win, Brian, Mike and I are going to chip in and buy you a robe. We all three have the same robe. We become the robe bros.
You have to have a robe, Brian.
I don't need to have a robe.
Come on.
All right, Mike, I can see you're getting ready for bed, so I'll just say thanks.
All right,
thanks.
gents, I got to
thanks
get
for
my
joining
beauty
us.
sleep.
Yeah, good night. Thank you for listening, and we'll see you later.
Ciao.
God, that guy's a maniac. All right, let me